guys, what's up? It's Bruce here with Boundless Embodiment. Welcome to episode 8 of the Boundless Embodiment podcast. I got a dear friend of mine on today. He's actually a former client and now a Fear to Love coach, Sean Wang. Sean, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Thank you, man. I'm pretty honored to be in this podcast with you. You know, I see that many people, they look up to your work as well. And me as a former client, I've gained a lot of insight from you and the work that you've been doing. So I'm just really honored to be in this podcast with you, man.
Yeah, dude. It's amazing to have you. It's funny, if I was going back reflecting on a year ago when we first started working together and thinking a year from now I'm gonna have Sean on my podcast and he's gonna be this badass coach. You can't predict those kind of things. So it's interesting how they unfold, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, like the intentions I even had when I came into working with you was way different. Like, and never think about being a coach. Like, it's so crazy how just the universe brings us to places where we're meant to be.
It knows, but we don't know, and we just kind of watch it unfold, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd love to start with a little bit about where you started on your own journey here, and how things have unfolded for you since we stopped working together. So we worked together, for those of you watching this, I believe in the late summer to like the late fall, early winter of 2020. So why don't you share a little about like what happened, like why you came, and then where you are now. I think that it would be cool to let everyone know how things have evolved for you.
Yeah, so when I actually came across Ruse's work, actually a year before I actually we actually followed through with a program together. And just from that work itself, I was always that type of kid who's so considered very sensitive. And ever since I was a little kid, and I wasn't the smartest kid. I didn't have the highest EQ. I felt really useless and not good enough in that way, especially, coming from like me, I'm Asian, I'm Chinese. So your parents always compare yourself to others, but naturally you compare yourself to others as well. Doesn't really matter where you come from. I was, I was, I always had this feeling of lack inside of me because I held this sort of anger ever since, because when I was a child, I was always bullied severely because at the time I had a language impediment and I couldn't properly communicate myself. So I was really outcast and I didn't have much friends. So that caused a lot of bullies to kind of like put their attention on me, and I'd be in a way their not slave, but I'd be their friend, but they'd be bullying me a lot every day. And that slowly just grew a lot of resentment inside of me till high school. And during high school, I came across some pickup material. I read the book The Game by Neil Strauss. And
And we all
you
read
know,
it's like part of every guy's journey is they read that book.
yeah. Actually, it was my dad who introduced it to me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I read that book, and at the time, I was already growing. I no longer had that language impediment, but socially, I was still kind of awkward. I couldn't get the girls. And at the time, when you're young, you're in high school, all you care about is getting girls. So that was the biggest focus to me, just getting girls. And I guess it was part of my journey at the time. I was meant to do that. But through that, I've gotten many hookups, I've gotten relationships, And once I got to college, around the time when I almost started working with Ruse, was when I got into a very serious long-term relationship. And that was when I noticed many just unconscious patterns that I've been repressing since those times when I was bullied when I was a kid. And I found that I was projecting a lot of jealousy, feelings of not good enough towards my girlfriend. And herself, she's doing it too. And I feel like we connected through that trauma, which is very unhealthy and caused a lot of just toxic patterns. And it was really stressing me out. But when I came across Ruse's work for a year, it wasn't because I wanted to just let go of all my traumas. It wasn't because I want to do any of that. The only reason why I felt called to do his stuff, to do the work he'd been doing, is because it just gave me that sense of relief. That even though maybe just he gave me kind of like an insight, just even if it's a little bit of what is possible or how you feel for your human mind. And I think that's what truly deep down just brought me to Ruse's work. Also, on the surface, he was also offering relationship coaching or, dating and stuff. So like I was also really interested in just making my relationship better with my girlfriend. I feel like that's the biggest thing. But yeah, I think when I came across his work, it just coaching with Ruse completely changed my life, man. Like I've let go of so much things.
Yeah, it's I mean, for me, like, getting to watch you blossom, like seeing who you were when you first came in, and all these insecurities. I remember you were playing with your hair a lot when you were like feeling anxious. And
Yeah.
I remember you, like, the first thing you wanted was like you really wanted to have a threesome with your girl, and like, these are the most important things for you at the time.
Mm,
And it's amazing to see who you are now, because like, out of all the people I know, and I know thousands of people, you're actually one of the more mature people I've known. You're only 20, you just turned 20 years old, which is like,
mm,
it's quite profound, where like age actually doesn't even really matter. When you
mm,
actually do the inner work, you can come out being more mature, and more in touch with yourself, more than the
mm.
great majority of the world, which is, it's quite amazing to see you blossom. And I know that relationship didn't work out in the program. You ended up breaking it off, but
Yeah.
uh, now sometime after, you're actually in a new relationship. Tell me a little about like that relationship and how it differs from the one you were in before.
So I think most people are familiar with just what's the word I'm looking for? When you're in a place of lack, in a place of seeking love from others, once you find that love from another person, you tend to get very attached to them. You tend to be over reliant on them. And with what me and Ruse worked on in the past, he told me that she was literally in a way being my drug. And that breaking up with her was like very, very hard because in a way, when you are truly very, very attached to someone and you feel like they're the real source of your love, it feels like you're dying once you break up with them in a way. And it really hurts. But, you know, it also was the turning point of my entire life, actually, of how I perceive life and everything. So it was a very beautiful moment because like without me breaking up with this girl, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now today. And you know, I right now my relationship, I have a relationship with a new person. She's it's definitely way healthier than it was before. And when I mm, when you don't when you find that love inside you, then when you realize that you cannot really get love from anywhere, it's just always around you. That love cannot be taken or given. That love is always here. that you experience the joy without needing anyone, anything around you, man. Just sitting there, just closing your eyes, just feeling that amazing feeling of just existing. When you realize that, once you get a girlfriend, it's like, okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's very different, right? It's like I have love if I have a girlfriend and I have love if I don't have a girlfriend. So like it's okay either way, right? It's like no longer
Yeah,
like I need the girlfriend. I need her to be in my life. And when you're in that space, like I feels like you can freely give love and be more loving and accepting of her without needing her to like, be your source of love. It's a very different experience of relationship, isn't it?
yeah. And once you are in that place, you realize that no matter what, you're not attached to any sort of outcome anymore. And you know what? Maybe there'll be one outcome that you're attached to is that you're only attached to the outcome of just making just the goodness of others. That no, whether you're there or not, whether she has to be happy. I don't care if I'm there or not. As long as she's happy, I'm good. And that's one feeling that I've realized I've been having a lot with anything, like even my dogs, to be honest. Like every like you just once you let go and realize that everything's just love, you just want to give to others. That's just the natural outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give that love, you find that the other person gains insight and they heal from the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how I see my current girlfriend's just journey of healing when she went with me. Like she was really resistant to many things in the relationship. But me and her, we've been dating for just a few months, but we never had one fight. And I think it was strong mainly because of how embodied I was in love, how I just truly let go of my own patterns. And yeah, it's much easier, simple, you know.
Beautiful, man. I love hearing that. You're gonna add something?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, people overcomplicate things too much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that although I'm coming from this perspective right now where I'm at, I knew where I was at. And it was really easy for me to fuck up, to have a fight, you know, and do some needy behavior. But when you're in a space where you completely just let that go, you see people struggle and you're like, why? Like, it's so easy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we almost like forget what it was like when we were like in that space, Like
Mm,
I'm curious. So like right now you're doing fear to love coaching.
mm.
What does that mean? So like for those someone that's like watching here that's like never heard of like fear to love coaching, like how would you like explain it to them? Like what is it like?
Mm. So fear love coaching to me, I feel is most aligned with what I want to do with my coaching business. And it is to really honestly bring people from a place of fear to love. And when you're in a fearful state, you get anxious, you are not grounded, you feel like a victim in life, you don't feel that oneness, you feel small. And it's a shame that people have to feel that way because it's definitely not true. And a big part of the teaching that you did with me, the biggest thing I got out of it is that everything is such a misunderstanding,
Mm-hmm.
that you do not see things from the full perspective. You don't see how life just the way it is. That you see life through a lens of pain, right? And it's just that when I see people go through that, I almost feel like I feel it's my purpose just to bring as much people as possible out of that place,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as best as I can. I don't need to like do crazy shit. I just as much people as I can do. So people could feel that love that they always wanted.
Mm.
And you know, it's I don't know what else to say. It's wonderful, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And that's beautiful that you found like this to be like your calling. You know, one thing you said earlier was like once you get into that space, once it like starts to become like grounded in who you are, that like, oh shit, this like inner love is like it's me. This is like what I am. It's inside. That's what I've been looking for this entire time. Like the
Mm,
very natural follow-up to that is like your thinking changes and your behaviors change as an automatic result of that. And they
mm,
completely become focused on wanting to help others, serve others, and bring them to this space. It's like, oh my God, everyone needs to know this. Like, if they don't know
mm,
this, they're missing out on like the beauty of life. Like, this is it right
mm.
here. It's already inside them. So like I
Wow.
actually had a very similar experience too, as like I started to go more inward in my practice and like shed layers and layers of BS that I was like misunderstanding about myself and others, that was creating my own suffering. That sense of inner love was just like a natural motivator to like want to help more people. And this is
Mm,
actually just how it works. Like your level of consciousness, whether you're in fear or shame or anger, it's going to reflect your desires as well. It's going to
mm.
outward reflect like how do you behave and act in this world. And that's
Yeah.
simple thing is like when you're really in the space of love, it's a completely giving energy. It's
Mm,
like you almost lose the desire to take anything or get anything from anyone, because like simply just giving that love is like you just get more of it, you know? It just feels like you're the one like getting love from giving all the love, you know what I mean?
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. It's quite an amazing feeling, indescribable actually, because the work that we're doing is merely just medicine. It's nothing more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And feel like when I got into that space, it was complete nothingness, complete allness. It's incredible peacefulness, and people just gotta know, man.
Yeah,
They
dude, I'm with you. I'm curious, like, what are like the main problems you think that most of the people have that you're helping? Like, if you had to list, like, what are the top three core problems most people have? Or like, let's put it another way. What are like the problems they think they have, and what's the actual problem that they have?
okay. So I'll bring an example. So actually, this is not a client, but actually a friend of mine. And I've ever since I've been coaching, I also helped do releasing sessions with my friends and my family. And it's pretty great to see how they got from it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that, like, oh my God, like this guy at work, he was criticizing me, my supervisor's criticizing me and says I'm doing wrong in everything. And I feel so pissed at him. And then and I asked him a few questions. And when we got deep, I'm asking him, like, why are you angry? And he's like, I don't want to feel like I want to doubt myself. And we realized that no, that anger, it doesn't matter because it's only resistance. He's only resisting that feeling of doubting himself.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that, I think something you always talk about as well is that it's not about the emotions that's the issue, it's about resisting that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And once you peel open that layer of anger, like I told him, it's like, so is it because you don't want to feel doubt for yourself? And he low key laughed because he knew he was manipulating himself.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So it's interesting. Like on the surface, we think like, well, I think what you're trying to say is like we think like people are doing things to us, people are like bullying us, or people are like doing something to us to make us feel bad about who we are. But underneath it, what we tend to find is like we're actually resisting our own inner emotions. We're resisting certain experiences, and that's what creates these like blocks of insecurity and blocks of feeling like, oh, like, right?
I've noticed is like, oh, you tell yourself, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And before, a few months ago, when I was just reviewing that word, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm like, huh, I'm not good enough. Okay, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, it's funny, like it's literally just sounds we're making out of our mouth, right? We're just giving meanings to these sounds that we like that come out of our mouth that like, and they just produce like a lack in our a feeling of lack in the body, right? It's
Yeah.
but it actually has no inherent meaning. It's just we're literally making stuff up. Our imagination's making stuff up, and then our mind's like, well, okay, that's true, and then our body's like, okay, well, you're the boss, and it just like creates that sense of like lack. It's like
Mm,
it's just an interesting kind of phenomenon. It's also kind of insane the way it works, but it's also quite
mm.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And maybe it could be tied into like our just built-in survival mechanisms. But I I'm not a scientist. I don't know shit. But but from my own experience, it's just quite fascinating to me. It's and the sense of identity that you have just automatically just goes away once you realize it's just complete sounds. And it's when even when I repeat myself, I don't know who the hell I'm talking about. I like you only have yeah, you have to be further in to actually understand what I'm talking about. But like, you know.
So let's go a little higher up. So there's a lot of people out there that have insecurities around like their
Mm,
race. They have insecurities around like their height or their looks. And they might say like, well, okay, this all sounds really good, but like this wouldn't work for me. Like, you know, what do you think? What do you think that that comes from? Like, what do you see that come from? Because like you yourself, like had a little bit of that, like thinking like, oh well, I'm Asian or like I'm this, I'm that. Like go
mm,
that experience yourself. Like, what would you say to the people like that?
mm. The thing is that maybe what we're talking about is complete bullshit. Maybe. And I feel like, you know, when you come from a place like that, you really don't know whether it is complete bullshit, a fraud, or whether it could actually help you. And to me, you just have to try. You just have to try, man. Try you have to let go of that fear of unknown, the fear of, oh, what if I try this and it doesn't work? It's all resistance, man. You just have to try it. And if it doesn't work, if you realize that life isn't all honest, allness or love, if you realize life is all death, hell, you're actually a victim, God set you to be that way, sure, whatever, go ahead. But you just have to try, man.
Mm. Hey, what's the alternative, right? Like the alternative is like you just stay insecure and stuck and like tied to all those feelings. Is like, you know, it's so interesting. Like so many people say that, or like they fight to the death. Like they almost want to prove, like they want to prove that it is that way. That it is. They are victims. That they have a disadvantage because they're like certain ethnicity or a certain height or look a certain way, and they all like almost fight you to the death sometimes to prove that it's right because they're so like tied to that identity and like that
Mm,
potentially admitting or making that wrong, well, it means that maybe their whole lives has been a lie so far. That's like so hard for a lot of people to swallow. To like, oh shit, maybe I've been like, maybe this is all like a complete lie, and I've like not actually don't know who the hell I am.
yeah. And you know what? It takes a lot of actually maturity and integrity to actually accept that maybe I don't know who I am. And even myself, you know, after my awakening and after realizing that who I am isn't really who I am, like I completely wallowed in tears because this identity, although it hasn't been serving me, in a way has given me this sense of familiarity, this sense of safety, this sense of, you know, being Sean, this kid, grew up with parents. And then once you realize it's all bullshit, you're like, fuck, you cry, you grieve about it, man.
It's
And
almost like you know, it is like a little. inner death in a way, you know, it's like a death and rebirth, right?
Yeah.
Like something that you realize like wasn't really true about you and like who you are, you know, you kind of been riding that mask for so many years. Once you realize like, oh, it's not anything actually real, like it feels like it feels like you're dying on the inside. Like it feels like, oh, and you mentioned the same thing earlier, like with the girlfriend, right? Like your ex, it similarly felt like you were dying because you were so attached to it. And
Mm,
that's what it, that's actually, if anyone's listening to this and you're getting that experience going through something, you're actually on the right track. That's actually great. You're
mm,
actually on your way to rebirth. You're that energy that used to be there, that's stuck, is now like disintegrating and dissolving, and it's going to be able to be reused for something greater for you. And that's like a, you know, some people get worried like, if it feels like I'm dying, it feels like it's never going to end. And I'm like, whenever someone says, I'm like, awesome, you're on the right track.
uh, I can imagine, man. Just some crying, you're like, oh, I feel like dying. Bruce is like, yeah, good job.
Yeah, we'd be like, good job, good job. Um, so tell me, like, are you working with just guys? Are you working with guys and girls? Like, who's like the main
Mm,
person that you see yourself working with, or like the main problems they would have that you'd want to like work with today? Like, who are those people
mm,
that are like, yeah, these are my ideal people. Like, if you're like feeling like this or thinking like this, like we should talk.
mm. Someone who's been searching for answers. I feel like whether you're a guy, girl, whatever background you come from, whatever belief system, religion, I don't care about that. I just want to see if you have that fire inside you that is searching, that is questioning, like, is this it? And if you keep searching for answers through things that don't give you answers, I would definitely recommend you to reach out to me. You know, someone who doesn't want to live life just the way it is, who wants to see, explore more possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
freedom, and just love. You know, if you ever in a shitty relationship, toxic relationship, reach out to me. If you ever feel like you're down, you're unworthy, and that's reflecting in your work and your romantic life, then reach out to me. If you ever just feel like there's an emotional block in your life, reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is struggling, and most importantly, is has the intention of doing whatever it takes to search to find the real answer, reach out to me. I got you, man.
Oh yeah, no, that's good, man. I like the way you put it. Like, you know, the stuff that Sean teaches, it's made for everyone, but not everyone is ready for it. Like there's a distinction. Like anyone
Yeah.
can use it and it will work, but if you're not ready for it, if you're not willing to go through that process, if you're not willing to like re-examine your entire life and what you believe to be true, and be willing and open-minded to consider a different perspective, then you know, it, no one can help you, not me, not Sean. It's just the most important step is like that you yourself feel a fire of like, this can't be it. Like I
Mm,
can't just be tied to these insecurities, or I can't just have like live a mediocre life like this. There must be more to life than what I'm, it just can't be this way. And like, you know, for me, like it's interesting that you said you put it that way, because I had that first experience, I think when I was like really young, maybe like 7 or 8, where like
mm,
I almost like was at school looking around at everyone and I'm like, why does this feel so not real to me? Like it felt like, I felt like, why do I feel like such an outsider? And like I feel like I'm the only one here like that doesn't know what's going on and everyone else does. And I'm like, shit, how do I fit in and like make sure like no one knows that I don't know what's going on, right? And
yeah.
mind is like that, no, actually everybody's doing that, because everyone is literally looking outside to like see like how should be, how they should think, how they should feel,
Mm,
what they should do, where the only answer is actually right inside them. Like there's no other place to get that answer. And like you know, just again, I just see, I'm maybe a little biased because I know Sean personally, but Sean has actually gone and walked through that entire journey. Like he has gone through the hero's journey of like going in and breaking his mask, like shattering it into pieces and letting it die so that he can become the man he is today. And you know, I would strongly recommend you check him out if you're listening to this. Are you still doing the free breakthrough calls as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, just get a call, get on a call with him because he's 20 years old, but he's like got the maturity of like a 70-year-old man who's lived like 100 lives, and that only comes from doing this inner work.
Mm.
It's kind of profound. I sometimes even look at Sean, I'm like, man, 20 years old, it's fucking crazy, I'm almost double his age, and he's like, this guy's at the same maturity level as me now.
Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to hear that. And thank you for those kind words, by the way. But you know, when I hear your childhood memory of that, I had a similar experience. It was not when I was 7, but when I was around 10. And it was a time when I was still being bullied. But one time I was just walking home and I was feeling very sorry for myself, really hurt. And I asked myself, how can I ever change? Because I always wanted to change and be someone else because I hated myself.
Yep.
And I said, how can I change? And when I listened to it, I had a little mini spiritual awakening at the time. It's like, wait, change what? It's just the inner voice telling me, change what? It's like, change who I was before. What is before? It's like, is it around you? I look around me. It's like, no, there's no before. It's just around me. It's like, okay, then what is before? And I think back to all the times I was bullied and I felt unworthy. It's like, is that here right now around you? And then this big pop in my head, like, no, it's not. It's like, and then I went to conclusion. There's no past, there's no future. And that actually kind of helped me get through a lot of things. I tried telling all my friends, it's like, yo, there's no past, there's no future. They're like, Sean, you crazy, man? Like,
You were like a little Buddha when you were 10, man.
yeah. Yeah. I, yeah, it's pretty crazy when the inner knowingness is always with you, even when you have a coach. Yes, he's there to help you, but you still have it inside you, with or without anyone, and that's a crazy part. And
Hmm.
I think it's important for you just to listen to yourself and listen to your own intuition, your own inner knowingness, and not completely rely on like external source. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, like I look at coaching, like I tell like all my clients and anyone that I'm thinking about working with the same thing.
Mm,
I say, number one, my job is to just show you that you actually know everything and you have everything you need.
mm,
Like my job is to like point you back inward and show you how to clear the stuff that's making that not evident right now for you. So you know how to
mm,
do that on your own and realize like, oh shit, I actually know everything I need to know. And at any given moment, I can come back here and I can know what to do next or like how to resolve my issues. And like, that's like number one. Number two,
yeah.
Number two is like getting them to a space where they never need to coach again. Like they know how to coach themselves, right? Like
Mm,
coach is just like it's like a temporary clean mirror of presence for you to
yeah.
like help you get in touch with your inner presence. But it's just a
Mm,
temporary mirror. At some point, you remove the mirror and you realize like, oh shit, I still have that thing here. That mirror is still within me. That
mm,
presence is still here right now. And
mm,
I know there's a lot of coaches out there that like want to have clients for like years and years and years. And I'm like, why? Like, if you're doing your job as a coach, like, within 3 to 6 months, they should be done with you and like being in a space where they're able to like take care of their own stuff. Not that they
yeah.
wouldn't want to coach again, but they don't need one. And that's a big difference between like you desiring to work with someone to like facilitate more growth versus
Mm,
feeling like you need it, right?
mm,
Um, I think that's like a big difference. And that's where I also see like I can tell your intention is more of that, right? Like it's
mm.
you want to work with them for a little bit of time and just get them on their own, get them to grow up and then hit them on the butt, like let them go live their life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's we don't want coaching to become some sort of like weird relation, like weird, just kind of like it's kind of be like a romantic relationship where people rely on you, you know? Like we don't want to turn to that.
Yeah, that's right. It's meant to be like a temporary, like, you know,
Yeah,
temporary love affair, but
temporary love affair.
one that brings you to like your own senses, like that, like, oh shit, this love affair is actually with myself. Like this love
Yeah,
affair that I thought was with like that person or this person is actually within me. And
yeah.
when you can have that inner love affair anytime you want, hey, the love you can give to others now is like amplified by, you know, infinite,
Mm,
infinitely more amplified.
mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for, man.
Before we hop off, I have two more things. One, um, what would you like recommend to someone that's like listening this like early on and maybe doesn't understand everything we said? Like, where do you think is like the best starting point for someone that is struggling a lot, has a lot of insecurities, besides like taking a call with you? Like, what else would be like something like that they might be able to do on their own or start like implementing right now, where they could actually start to experience some difference in their lives?
Mm, yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's one process that really, really helped me before is the process of reparenting yourself.
Mm,
And that is, I think the biggest part, first, number one, is awareness and noticing when these triggers come up, noticing in what situation they come up, noticing how your body, the sensations of your body when they come up, what your thoughts are when they come up, and just noticing every time they come up. Write it down on write it down or just keep it in your mind's eye. It's completely fine. And then when you do that, I'd say just ask yourself, like, am I seeing this just the way it is or my own projection of it? And notice if you see that same thing just the way it is, it's the same way you used to see it versus the new way you see it now.
mm.
And you notice that your inner knowingness will just completely change the course and actually show you how it really is. There are many releasing techniques you could do as well, which, you know, if I get into it right now, it'd just be too much. It's too much to say.
I like that one. So, like to recap, um, you write out a situation in which you're seeing something that's bothering you, and
Yes,
you just become really aware and present with that thing, and then
yes.
as you're looking at it, what you wrote down, you ask yourself, "Am I seeing it just the way it is, or am I seeing my own projection of how I want it to be?" Is like something like this.
Yeah. And one thing I added on as well is also to acknowledge it as well. Because when you ask a question like that, some resistance might come up like, oh, like I'm right. This is a real way to see it. So you just say thank you. I love you. Thank you. Just keep saying I love you. Thank you. I love you. Just say and notice why it's feeling that way. Is it feeling that way to protect you? And if the answer is yes, then say, thank you. I love you. Thank you. Now ask yourself, am I seeing this just the way it is? Or am I seeing the way I project it to be, how I want to see it?
Mm,
And just say, I'm committed to seeing this just the way it is. You'll
committed,
notice,
just the way it is. Okay, good. You got to mean
yeah,
it, right? You got to mean it when you say it. I'm committed to see this just the way it is.
yeah, yeah. It's, it'll unconsciously just make you more and more committed.
That's good. If you're listening to this, I would try that out. Have an open mind. Do pick something that's bothering you, and just notice if it shifts anything within your experience when you go through that process. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's quite a powerful exercise. Thanks for sharing that, man. Um, if if someone was curious about wanting to work with you, Sean, what would be the best way they can get in contact with you to like schedule the free breakthrough call?
Yeah. So I'll be posting I guess we could provide like a calendar link on
Okay.
my on this post as well. You could feel, you know, you guys could also they could also just text me directly. I'm completely fine with that. You know, I'll respond as soon as possible. Not really, yeah, exactly. Whoever wants to talk to me, I'll talk to you. You know, it's cool.
So what we'll do is like, I will post your Calendly link in the comment section of the of YouTube and on the Facebook post, so that if someone wants to get in contact with you, I'll also tag you if they want to reach out on Facebook. For anyone listening to this, I'd highly recommend you talk to Sean and book a call with him. You lose nothing; it's free. And if you are someone that's that's committed to seeing things differently in your life, to like having a different experience of life, one with more love and less fear, I think Sean would be a great help for you guys. And I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom. Amazing to see your growth and you in a thriving relationship. It warms my heart that I got to be a small part of that, and I'm
Mm.
really excited to see you continue to blossom and help many lives out there.
Nah, I know. I was just saying. You said you're honored being a small part of it. I'm like, nah, it's a way bigger than that, brother.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, man. Well, looking forward to continue to see you blossom, man. Thanks for joining the podcast. It was really great having you. And
Mm.
we'll be in touch, brother.
All right, man. All right. Peace, guys.